Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders' Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. Starting with a cock from one breeder and a hen from another breeder, no problem. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders' Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl.
Is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house?
I'm a doctor.
What's up, Doc?
Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders' Academy, and I'm here with my wife, Nancy, my co-host, Frank Bradley, and our special guest, Peter Brown. Welcome back, Peter.
Yay!
Hey. Howdy, everybody.
Welcome back, Peter.
So what's going on, guys?
Give us your weather status out there, Kenny.
It's
Not
actually
bad.
nice. Not bad at all.
Daggone it.
No, it's been really nice.
No, we get 2 days where it's going to be really nice, and then it's going to heat up again.
Oh,
But,
One
yeah.
time I get to rub it in their face, and now they got nice weather. I was talking to Kenny the other day, and he said it was like 108 out there, I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
And it was
Yeah.
like 74 here. And I said, for our weather, I think this time, and I think Kenny's right. I didn't think so at first, but I think the weather from Kentucky went out to California.
It did.
California come out here for at least for a little bit.
I told Nancy I went out and fed the chickens this morning, and I says I don't think it was that hot out here because we were out of town. We were up in the Orange County area yesterday, and I was feeding the chickens. They didn't hardly drink any water. So I was like, okay, it must have been pretty good yesterday. So, and it was really good today. Matter of fact, I don't have the air conditioner on. It was on the fence. Should I have the air conditioner or not? I just turned it off.
I don't either. And that's unusual for August, in Kentucky. Usually the air conditioner's running wide open, but it's been like that all week. I actually one night it got down to 47 degrees in August. That's unheard of.
What's it like in Maryland, Peter?
Pretty much the same as his weather. It's 64 here right now.
Yeah, that's about what it is here.
Yeah, when I get up in the morning, probably about 52, 55 in the morning.
That's
It's
good
been
weather.
Real
That
nice.
is good weather.
Yeah, we've had really good weather the last 4 or 5 days. But it's
That's
summer.
right.
It won't last. It'll come back.
Yeah,
So we had a lot of rain. We had a lot of rain last week.
Now that you can keep, Peter. You can keep all that rain out there.
Yeah, rain doesn't work here either. We have a very shallow water table here. It's the way they drain roads here is there's a ditch on the side of the road because it just doesn't go anywhere.
Oh.
Everything floods here when it rains. So
Ours is really deep. It takes a lot for it to flood the backyard.
is that right?
Yeah, because we don't get that much rain.
Yeah. A little bit
It
of
has
rain
to
here.
here.
It stays here forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been nice last couple of days, so I'm enjoying it. Thanks to Nancy, now I know it's going to get hot. Didn't need to know that, but
I'm not a hot weather person. Never have been.
I'm
me
not
neither.
either.
Me
No.
neither.
No,
I'm
a
good
big
this
wuss.
type weather, but the humidity. I'm good on temperatures, but that humidity turns me into totally a different person when it comes to humidity. Man, it makes me grumpy. Oh, I can't stand it. It just
I'm the
makes
same
me a
way.
totally different person.
I'm not an outside person in the summertime. Not at all. I hate
Yeah.
the beach. So
Today we're going to be talking about the highly pathogenic avian influenza, and Peter's got some new updates and some
interesting stuff. Yeah,
yeah. So we're going to talk about prevention.
a disease that doesn't want to go away.
Yeah, talk about the risks, the outbreak status, how it's going to affect your chickens, the symptoms, transmission, a whole bunch of good things. The only thing I want to say is I think we are doing every 2 weeks for the front end, and then we do every 2 weeks for the members on the members roundtable. So in 2 weeks, we did push the truth of outcrossing back a little bit, which is fine. So we'll be doing that in 2 weeks. So we'll be looking for that. Looking forward to that because there's a lot of people that need to hear that. Make sure to, am I doing the overlays, Nancy?
Yes, you are. We
Okay, that's right. I
discussed that.
forgot. Yeah. We did just discuss that. Okay. Make sure you join the newsletter, which is our, we call it the Breeders Bulletin. It's a good way to get into the website. So if you're thinking about becoming a member, subscribe, just go to www.breedersacademy.com or click the QR code right there. There you're going to get some free material, free ebooks, some downloadable PDFs. And like I said, every now and then I send out invites to become a Breeders Academy member. So make sure to do that. And let's see what else I have. So I guess we can get right into it. Do you know how you want to start, Peter? I mean, I've got your outline here.
I just think that probably go from it historically speaking, just to show that it's been around for a long time. Predominantly here in the States, most of the time. In years past, a few countries like Saudi Arabia had some issues with it, and Israel on occasion, and so on. But lately it's been a thorn in everybody's side. It's not going away. It's staying around. So if you go back to 2014, 2015, it ran its course in right around 6 months. And well, anytime you have the mortality associated with this disease, somebody always gets hurt, and it's usually the commercial people. But now it's spreading around everybody. And so if you looked at the 2014, 2015, it started out in December, ended up pretty much being done in the middle of June. And then, the severity of the outbreak, so about 211 flocks on the commercial side, and 2025 or so on the backyard side. Average downtime for any given flock, predominantly the commercials, that usually runs well over 100 days, because they have to, first euthanize all of them. Then they have to, they're doing a thing now called composting in place. So they let them compost within the house, and that kills the virus because of the heat. And then they go in and they get rid of all that, wash it all down, do it all over again, let it sit fallow for a while. And so it's a consuming thing, and it's also a very costly event. And the present break that we're in now, I'm not sure how much money's been spent, but it's an ungodly amount, and continues to this day. Every time we think we got it under control, 2-3 more flocks pop up, starting to do the same thing around the world again. So
is it affecting the commercial more or the backyard more?
Commercial, about well, in outbreaks past, it's been more so in the commercial, but a lot more of the backyard flocks these days too. I forget the exact numbers. Probably got them here in my notes somewhere if I look around at them.
Now, what they're saying too is this one's quite a bit different, because the waterfowl used to carry it, but now they're being affected. They're actually dying from it. They were just carriers. So
it's spreading to everything, even mammals now, and there's more and more humans getting it. So it went on in 2016, 2017. In actuality, it just really was very limited in 2016, 2017. I think that's what make most people think it was going to go away, because it only affected turkeys, okay, and predominantly in Indiana. And so it came in like a flash, went out like a flash. And then 2017, 2018, kind of like the same thing. Same virus, the H5N1. And it was in Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia. And that was it. It was over in a short period of time. And then it skipped almost 4 years. And I guess maybe you get lulled to sleep in it, and once you don't see it. But all of a sudden that popped up, and consisted of H5N1, H7N9, and the current outbreak is predominantly H5N1. 40 states involved. Commercial flocks are 228 and growing, and the backyard flocks are 256. So never used to be that way. It used to be the other way around. Mm-hmm. But right now it's kind of in a little bit of a lull the last few weeks, which is kind of interesting. But yet they've had an outbreak recently in France, who has been dormant since January. So it's a tough one.
I have to wonder in France, because I watch a couple of YouTube channels that people that are in France, they're having a lot of rainstorms out there. So I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the spread of it in France. And us, we're having a lot of heat spells. And I'm wondering if that's what's causing ours to subside. What do you think?
Well, normally we don't see it in July and August. We'll see it up through the beginning of June here. But that, now we're kind of seeing it in July. We're seeing it in August. Had big outbreaks in the beginning of August in Colorado. I think it was 3.3 million birds. The one in France, if my memory serves me correctly, was down on the waterfront. They feel that it was probably spread by the wild waterfowl there. But the interesting thing there is they've embarked not last, but January, I believe it was, on an actual vaccination program. and they vaccinated almost 50 million birds. And so it's kind of, and I don't know, and they didn't say if these birds were vaccinated or not. Sometimes they never want to say those things because they don't want anybody to think the program isn't working. We've been down that road before on the human side here as well. That still doesn't work. And but you're probably right. It's probably related to all of those things. It seems to like moisture rather than the heat, and that's, I believe, most of the reason why it's always subsided in the summertime, but it's not doing that. I believe in my heart and my mind that this virus is changing rapidly. Okay. So we've seen it now in dairy cattle. Okay. And I think there's some, I don't know, last time I looked, 40, 50 herds now all around that are being infected by this. My guess there is cattle are out in the fields, the ducks and the geese and whatever, especially geese. We get more geese around here and you shake a stick at it. And the state of Maryland here has got a real environmental policy for these big poultry farms here. They have to be able to retain all of the water on their farm with a pretty much zero runoff. So they have these huge retention ponds. And I'll give you one guess. What's in the retention pond besides the possibility of a fish?
Waterfowl.
Yeah. Sure, about 60 or 70 or 80 or more, because I've got a guy that I know here fairly close to me, and he's got a relatively new facility, and I think he spent $500,000 just building these retention ponds, and it's absurd, really, when you think about it. But that's the rules. That's their EPA nonsense, and then they wonder why they have problems with avian influenza. Then they try to figure out how it's spreading, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. But I don't know. I don't know how we're going to stop it. That's the thing that has me worried, because they're in Finland. They're actually offering to high profile workers that are working around a lot of chickens, I guess, and that kind of stuff. 18 years and over, a voluntary program. To be vaccinated with a human avian flu vaccine. That's the new thing on the block. Okay.
Jeez.
And in Europe and here in the United States, they've been given the United States, I know it's $150 million for, I think it's Moderna, to develop a human avian influenza vaccine. But yet, when the government looks at it, they don't think it's such a big threat at this point. But somebody knows more than they're saying. My opinion. Not a big believer in conspiracy theories. Okay, but
well, here's my thought on the issue. They wouldn't be offering Moderna so much money to produce a vaccine if they didn't think that it was something that we need to be taking care of.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, it's their idea is to get ahead of it, and the interesting thing about the dairy cow part of it is that this particular virus has an affinity for the tissue in the teat of the bird, of the cow, which I think is kind of interesting. And what that means going forward, I don't know. There's not
Are the cattle being euthanized as well once they?
Nope, they seem to get over it. They seem to have very mild symptoms compared to chickens. My take on that is their immune system is probably, as far as the cow is concerned, is probably much stronger than the chickens. Chickens pretty weak immune system from my book, but it's just an interesting thing. The USDA and the FDA were late to the table, and people were taking them to task for the fact that they weren't talking about the virus being present in milk. Okay. And then they
that
came
was going
out.
to be my next question. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they came out after that, after somebody beat them on the head with a 2x4. Then they came out after that and they said, well, it's pasteurized and that heat will kill it. And then they did some work and said, well, maybe. And I don't think they really know.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. I read something earlier today, and they were saying that they've discovered that the virus can survive on milking equipment. Okay. We already Yeah. But, I don't think any of us should be surprised at any of this stuff anymore. That they know that for a fact that the government is untruthful and just can't tell the truth. That's all.
Well, I know for a fact because we have a dairy farm down the hill from us that in this dairy farm that we know of, Conine Dairy, they disinfect the teats before they even start the milking process every day.
I think they all do.
They all do that.
I would assume they would, but I know for a fact that this dairy does that.
They should be.
Yeah.
They have to do it because if they allow, they use an iodine-based solution. At least that's what they did when I used to do it, and pretty quick and easy. And they use we used to use wet paper towels with an iodine-based solution on it too. So they have a cup that you dip over each teat, and then you wipe it down with that and clean it, because they can't risk the contamination of the entire tank of milk, because all the milk from all the cows goes into one giant tank. One's
Right.
contaminated, they all get contaminated, and you have to test for mastitis too. And that's you take it's a cup with a screen on top, and you go around, you milk each teat, and you look for the clumping up of the milk in that, and that cow has to be left out of the rotation.
So are they more concerned with the fact or the number of people or number of farms that are being infected, or the fact they just can't seem to control it? They don't know what they're going to do to control it. Is that?
Well, yeah,
Because it doesn't seem like it's as many farms as you think it would be, but yet it's a disease they're having a tough time getting rid of.
Yeah, the last time I looked at the dairy side of it and found any information on it, it's 40 farms and counting, and it's not in any one area. It's quite a few different areas. It's out in the Midwest. It's in Michigan. It's quite a few places.
It's because of the flying waterfowl. You just
Well,
dropping their stuff as they fly
yes.
around.
Nobody has come out and said, but it makes sense. I mean, where I'm right here in the Eastern Flyway, so in another 30 days plus, you'll be able to go out here on any farm field after the crop's been picked, and it'll be loaded with snow geese. I mean, you'll think it snowed.
Yeah.
Just,
Here too, right next to the wild animal park, or
Yeah.
across the street from it, there's big pastures, and there's so many geese just in there pasturing, just sitting there, just eating the grass.
Yep.
And but what's funny too, though, is the wild animal park, they put all their waterfowl, all their birds up. You can't even see them.
Mhm.
Okay. Now they're starting to bring them back out. So I was kind of thinking that things were getting better, that the AI wasn't a big deal, or maybe the what do they call it, the flyways?
Mhm.
Maybe we're out of their path right now. I don't know. So
A lot of the Canadians here, they stay here year round. They don't even migrate.
Well,
some of them do.
Yeah, we have resident geese here
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Some of them do, but the majority of them, they stay. You'll see them here January, February, right through the colder months. You'll see them right here.
Well, there's a lot for them here to eat. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
farm on every corner here practically. So, I mean, the big deal here as far as besides chickens, I mean, there's chickens here all over the place too, but it's corn and soybeans. So, it's everywhere. So when harvest time comes, whatever left on the ground, that attracts them. The vast majority of them leave, but we have a decent population of resident geese that just hang out here. And it's so bad here in some places that the Department of Agriculture, the federal side, has a crew that goes around and catches them, euthanizes them, and then they bring them to a processing plant. And they don't want you to know that, though. But I know where they are. They're about, from where I'm sitting, they're about 90 miles away. And they park, it's in a small shopping center, and they rent space there. And they have, their pickup trucks and trailers are out front, but their cages that they put them in are out back. So
I had a
Even if
friend.
they're healthy, I mean, they're euthanizing them. Even if they're not testing them, they're just like, okay, we're just getting rid of you.
I don't think they're testing them. They may test them maybe after they catch them, but I don't see that part of it. I just know it's happening because this particular shopping center, it's on the other side of the bridge from here. So if you go to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, going towards Baltimore, as soon as you get off the bridge, within a mile on the left-hand side, there's a shopping center there, and it's got a big giant hobby shop there. And my grandson and I go up there and buy trains and stuff. That's
I
Let
had
me
a
ask.
wait a minute. I had a friend once. I think he's in Washington too. So you can imagine what's going on with that, with the airways and everything. But he fed his birds, had a good number of birds. This farm was pretty spread out. He fed them, came in, went to go collect eggs, and at the far end, he noticed those birds are starting to act funny. So he went back in the house, came back out just to check on them, and they were all dead. And then he saw the other ones pretty much dropping, the ones next to it dropping dead right next to them. By the end of the day, they were pretty much, he had almost no birds. Is it that contagious? Is the incubation period that fast?
I have never heard of it, going through a flock that quick. It was probably already there. I'm not sure what the incubation time is on it, but it's probably just like all the other viruses. It's very similar to, but not the same as infectious bronchitis. Infectious bronchitis is a coronavirus, just like COVID and this. It's all the same. They just act differently, and But we'll get into symptomology here shortly if you want. I mean,
Sure.
The current outbreak is devastating because a lot of conspiracy theories going around. That always makes me kind of laugh a little bit. That farmers are deliberately doing this so they can collect the indemnity fee. That's ridiculous. No farmer would kill off half of his chickens because they don't pay you market. They pay you what the bird is worth at the time it dies. And if you delay, let's say you come out today and you've got some excessive mortality, and you slough it like, well, it's no big deal. And the next day you come out and you have a few more, and then the longer you wait, they're not paying you for those birds. They're going to pay you from the day you report it. Okay, so the longer you delay, the less money you're going to get back. And they don't pay you for the time you're down. I just told you a few minutes ago, you on average 111 days. And that's over 3 months. No income, other than the income for the dead birds that went out. But, I've always had this theory that I tell people, dead birds don't pay bills. They don't.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Peter, would it be smarter to let the chickens evolve with it like the wildfowl have? Or can that actually happen?
Maybe. Nobody's ever tried it. It's there's too much. I think that at the end of the day, there ends up being too much at risk to let it just go. I would think if you could, take a farm and have it an isolation facility and take the survivors and reproduce from the survivors, maybe, but you're talking a long time. I mean, look, the commercial poultry industry on the broiler side has a problem with what's called woody breast. Okay, that's that piece of chicken you get that when you look at it, it's all not the white striations. That's different. Okay, this is just odd looking when you look at it. And then when you cook it, it gets like rubber. You're not going to see as much of it now because what they're doing is they're taking that chicken. It's edible. It's just not comfortable texture in your mouth. Okay, and very chewy and when you'll know when you get a piece of it. Trust me. But what they're doing now is they're taking that, and that's your ground chicken. Okay. So because nobody wants it. Chick-fil-A doesn't want it. I'm not sure about McDonald's, though. The standards are not quite the same. But
Don't give them any ideas. I eat there.
What's that?
I eat there. Don't give them any ideas.
Which one, Chick-fil-A or the other one?
Both of them, actually.
McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. But they just put a new McDonald's down the street here, and we've been eating there quite a bit.
Is that right?
So, yeah, because they caught on fire and lost it for like 2 years. So finally they got it back. So anyway,
that's the reason I'm happy. Amanda and I are consuming a lot of what we raise ourselves rather than going to the store and buying it, because at least you know what it is, what's in it, and all that good stuff. And it comes down to it, we're going to cut everything of that out and do as much as we can on homestead rather than getting it at the store.
It's kind of funny because it's what do people actually think is in their food? That's the from a live animal standpoint.
Yeah.
Most of them have gone no antibiotics ever. Okay, although Tyson has changed their tune because they know that's a BS deal. Okay, See, what you don't see behind the scenes is the mortality from the birds that are not being raised on antibiotics.
Yeah.
It's that simple. You know, I mean, I have down the street here from where I live, they have signs up so that the feed truck driver and the serviceman that comes reminds them that it's an antibiotic-free farm. So you don't want to be introducing anything, to the place if the feed truck comes in and he's really not supposed to be there. He's made a mistake or whatever, and they do, So I don't know what people expect. There's never been antibiotics allowed to any great degree in your food. It's always been that way. There's been a withdrawal time, and it's down to parts per billion that is allowable. Okay, so it was worse actually if you go back and historically looking at it. Okay, then you might have had a complaint because they were. I don't know if you're familiar with roxasone, 3-nitro-W. Okay, well that is organic arsenic, and you've eaten plenty of chickens with it, so you can go because okay, and it wasn't until more or less the internet and that kind of thing that started getting around that's what was happening. I could sell a truckload if I had it right now because it is probably one of the greatest products that we've ever had, and people don't understand it. It's so it's what it means by organic is that this product doesn't stay in the body; it washes out with water. Okay, and so you would let's say the feed mill today was sending a load of this chicken feed to your farm, and they put too much in. Well, shortly after they start eating it, you would know it because the birds start falling down on the floor like they're drunk. Okay, and the way to cure it is to take the feed away and flush them with water, and they stand right back up and go on about their business. You give them fresh feed. The feed's got too much of it in it. We call it 3-nitro down. Okay, most people don't know it, but it's a great product. Wish I had it. Did the same thing for swine. The 3-nitro-W is actually for swine. The roxasone, which goes in the feed, you could use it both ways. It really didn't matter. But great product. I just wish they had it today.
Back to what Nancy was saying as far as breeding them in a way that they're immune to it. Mm-hmm. The problem I see is that the number of breeder birds are actually it's a small number. Mm-hmm. So the number of them being naturally immune to it or building the resistance to it could be tough because most of the chickens you actually see being killed or affected by it are the ones that are the short-term birds, the birds that we don't plan on breeding or anything. So to make that kind of thing happen, we would have to expose and breed the actual breeding birds, the brood fowl that created all these, which is a smaller number than you would think it would be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then you have to go back to the grandparent stock and all that.
Yep.
The primary breeders that are held by the companies that produce those birds, the Ross and the Arbor Acres, and
that's a smaller number than the other number.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean. So
it's a can of worms, and I don't know how you go about doing it in any kind of fashion that you would get anywhere, and I think that might be the reason why. Avian influenza and any other disease in animals, whether it be chickens or cattle or whatever, always affects the world market. And that's why now, when they talk about a backyard flock versus a commercial flock, they make that distinction for that reason. Okay, because people just don't want it. The reason they're not vaccinating more birds in Europe, other than basically waterfowl, from what I understand at this point, is they want to see how it flies. Is it going to work? Okay, is it something that's going to be accepted afterward by people? That's the thing. And I'm not sure because there's not enough information around on the efficacy of the trials that they're doing. Just because you did 50 million birds doesn't mean squat. If 90% of them get sick, And the trials that I've seen with the vaccines that have come out, it's between 90 and 97%, depending on the vaccine. So whether it was a killed or whether it was a attenuated live with. It remains to be seen how it goes. I can tell you this, because the rumblings are already starting by people, that how long are we as a people going to continue to pay for this? Okay, because if you look at the previous outbreak, the amount of money spent was humongous, and now I don't even know how much. I haven't even seen the figure. It's got to be crazy, because we put down in excess of 100 million birds. You know,
Commercially?
commercially and backyard together. Yeah.
Backyard together. Now, let me ask you this. A flock of birds, of chickens with superior immune systems, are they less likely to come down with AI, or are they just as susceptible as birds that may have a weaker immune system, a weaker
Nancy,
digestive?
every disease is different, and every bird is resistant to different diseases. So, and this is a very virulent one.
Have nothing to back up this statement at all, but I would think the low path, yeah, you get away with it, but the high path, and the problem with that is that it can start out in these chicken houses are big, 50,000 birds plus running around on the floor and whatever. Can start at one end of the building as a low path, and by the time it gets to the other end, it's high path. That's how.
What does that mean? Low path and high path?
Its ability to kill a bird, to cause disease. So it's it's a low pathogen. They don't even usually do much for the low path. They just let it go. At least that's what they were doing in the past. But it's pretty nasty stuff. I mean, these birds get sick and they look ugly. And I mean, people might think different things of chickens being ugly in the first place, but I mean, they get dark-headed and all kinds of things with them.
But to be resistant, a bird can't be resistant unless it's been actually
Exposed.
Yeah.
So that's when you come to the high and the low pathogen. Maybe a lower pathogen they could, but the higher, like Peter said, it's virtually impossible.
A bird with a good high functioning immune system might be able to ward off the low path, but I doubt it with the high path. And we see the same thing. Look, we've been vaccinating for infectious bronchitis, again, which is a coronavirus, since the early 1900s. Okay. When I started into this business many moons ago, the viruses that we were dealing with then, the Massachusetts 1, the Massachusetts 2, the Connecticut, and the Florida, and all those, you hardly even hear of them today. Still there, people are still mixing that with others. But there's so many different ones, and some of them are native to just a particular area. Okay, Arkansas 99, which comes out of Arkansas. There's a Delaware. There's all kinds. A JMK, which was common here in Maryland. Those are all infectious bronchitis viruses, and there's a whole slew of them now. Okay, they keep coming up with different ones. And some of them are just slightly different than the other. But if you don't include it in, you get the mortality. Almost everything now is done in the egg. They don't do hardly anything out in the field anymore, on the broiler side. Okay, on the egg laying side, they have to do it in some of it in the field.
Has there been any indication of it mutating on the AI side, Peter, or has it just been one pathogen the whole time?
Always mutating. Every virus does that. Every virus, as it goes through the host animal, it changes, and most of the time it's these subtle changes. The amount of different combinations you can have with the avian influenza is what's disturbing as well. Okay, and I forget the number on. There's one, the H&N. One of them's got X amount of, and the other's got like 100 and some odd. So that combination, you can make a lot of combinations of this disease, and there's quite a few.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, most of them are known.
How do birds that are inside the commercial birds that are inside these big, huge buildings, because we have some farms out here in Ramona where they're housed in these big, huge buildings with big fans on each side of the buildings. How are those chickens getting exposed to AI?
Well, I can't speak for them because I don't think in many cases we really know. But having been in that business for a while, I can take a pretty good guess. Sloppy controls. Anybody can come in the house. I'll give you an example right here where I live. Okay. Every feed truck here has a water tank and a spray system on it. Right? No good if you don't put anything in the tank. That industry is so penny pinching tight. Okay. They will not spend the money until it bites them. It's just the way it is.
Even
So-
rodents.
What we're
They just-
talking is low biosecurity.
Yeah. They all talk a good game. If it comes here again, like it has in the past, we haven't had it here in quite some time now. But if it comes here again, they break out all the stuff and they'll start all this silly nonsense, and they'll go around, they'll start spraying this, that, and the other. Okay. I mean, it's a proven fact. Go back to the 70s, had a huge outbreak of laryngotracheitis, which is extremely nasty disease.
Oh, yeah.
The virus settles down in the bird's trachea. They choke to death on their own blood. It used to be so bad years ago that you would know it soon enough as soon as you walked into a chicken house, because the walls would be full of blood. They'd be slinging their heads trying to clear their trachea and stuff. And we've got some pretty good vaccines for it now and that kind of thing that are easy to control it. But they had this outbreak in Germany. And so the first thing you do with an outbreak like that is you pull all your personnel off the road. The servicemen, nobody's going farm to farm, and we'll stop it, blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, didn't stop it, kept right on. Couldn't figure out what it was until somebody said, hey, what about the feed truck? So when they started disinfecting the feed truck from farm to farm, started to get it under control. And the same thing, look, I'm in an area here where hunting's a big deal, especially waterfowl. Okay, so during that hunting season, I don't know of a guy around here that doesn't have a chicken house, that doesn't hunt, and doesn't have his shotgun in his truck with his dog. So you get up at the butt crack of dawn, get out there, start shooting some ducks and some geese. They're in the back bed of the truck. Your dog's back there with him, and he goes in the chicken house with you to help you pick up dead chickens. There's another vector for it. Again, going back to the other one with the retention ponds outside. Okay. Well, maybe the geese aren't going to get in the building, but they crap all over the place. You know that. I mean, God almighty. And just that alone. Some of the farms have Hispanic people, okay, gamefowl people, and they're not supposed to have chickens. If you work for a chicken company, you're forbidden to have chickens. If they find you have them, they'll fire you. Okay. So they're not going to get rid of their chickens. They're just not going to tell anybody. And so I'm not saying they do. I'm not trying to, point the finger, but these are all vectors for this to get into chicken houses. If you don't pick up your dead, a lot of the commercial egg laying companies use a deep pit manure system. So the cages hang out over the top of a pit, and manure falls into the pit, and then every year or so or whatever, they'll clean it out. Meanwhile, that draws rodents, it draws flies, and if you don't have that kind of control, especially if in a tight market when money's tight and everything else, you're going to spend the money. Okay. I'd say, from my perspective, having again spent some time in that industry, poor management, sloppiness, unaware. Nobody having a meeting and talking about it. In their servicemen meeting at some of these places, are they still talking about this? I don't know. I'd put money on no before I'd put money on yes, because I know how they operate. They're not all like that. Some are pretty tight, and run a really good ship. But things happen.
It's still easy to make a mistake.
It is. And I'm not really trying to sit over here and point fingers at anybody, because technically I don't give a rat's butt one way or another. I ain't got no dog in that fight. You know, long past that one. Long past that one. You know, it's when I did some work in that industry, it was hard to get management, upper management, and I wasn't upper management, but the people above me to pay attention. Yeah.
Do we want to get into the
Talk
symptoms?
about, what you're going to do and how you're going to do this, how you're going to do that, but applying it, talking about, we all know this. We all been down that road, even in our own lives. You know, I got a zillion things I think I'm going to do. Sheesh, I'm going to live long enough. You know,
I'm going to live forever. What are you talking about?
well, I'm hoping.
That's what my dad keeps telling me. He's going to live forever.
He's going to live forever.
I'm pushing for it. That's
Kenny, the only way we're going to live forever is going to be through our shows and videos. That's about the only way we're going to live forever.
maybe.
That's if our kids keep making, they make sure they're still up, because once we're gone,
they'll
nobody's
be
paying
out
the bills. They just disappear.
They'll be out there somewhere.
Hey, if it goes like the popularity of antique furniture, we haven't got a prayer. We haven't got a prayer.
Oh, darn.
You want to talk about symptoms?
Pardon?
Symptoms? You want to talk about the symptoms?
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
It's a lot of them.
I listed quite a few because there are quite a few, but very rarely do you see all of these symptoms appear in one flock. You'll be putting them down before you'll see all of this. But one of the things that's a standout, actually two things that are standouts before you start to see some of the other things, okay, is that birds that are normally quite noisy when you come out to greet them in the morning, okay, as soon as you open the door, they start, doing a silly sidewalk routine and, flying around and doing all kinds of stuff and, making some noise. But when they hit with AI, they don't. They're dead quiet. Okay. The other thing you see is excessive water consumption. And then you start to see the dark-headedness and the mortality. Okay. So those things right there are the big things that you're going to see. Not always necessarily in that order. It depends on the virus. If the virus is a little hotter in that particular house and more of them have it, or you haven't been paying attention, that happens. You wouldn't think so, but it does. And look, when you say, that earlier in August we had, I think it was in Colorado, 3.3 million birds. They didn't all have it. It's just that they're all chickens on the same infected farm, and therefore they all die. Because you can't stop it on a place like that. I mean, the egg belts go from one house to another. So if they're coming out, eggs are coming out of a house from infected birds, they're going right through other houses. So I mean, you'll never stop it. So they put them all down. There's just no way to keep it separate on a farm. So so you'll have the lack of movement. On an egg farm, soft-shelled eggs, misshapen eggs, similar to what you would see with the misshapen eggs and rough-shelled eggs for infectious bronchitis. Again, same type of virus, just a little bit more deadly. The sudden death, loss of appetite, stop eating. All the things technically, if you think about it, other than the mortality to a degree, pretty much same thing you would see in yourself with the normal flu, right? You're not going to get up and if you're a jogger, you're not going to get up tomorrow morning when you feel like crap and say, okay, I'm going to get my jogging shoes on and make that trip around the block. You're probably going to look at your morning coffee and your morning food and maybe later, that kind of thing. Kind of same thing with them.
Well, what I'm noticing is a lot of these symptoms, they resemble other diseases. So it's hard to go by just one symptom. Are we a lot of times talking about multiple symptoms?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Coughing, sneezing, nasal discharge, I also think, you have to realize that, and again, this goes back to awareness. How aware are you of this disease within your locality? Are you paying attention? To me, if I am used to raising healthy flocks, and I come out in the morning and I see birds that are, a lot of them real sick, I don't think I'm going to jump to, LT or some other disease, coccidiosis, this, that, or the other thing. I'm going to say, that's going to be my first. and maybe that's just me being doing what I do.
Well,
But-
looking at these symptoms, the first thing I would think is, what is it? We just had it here in California. God, my mind just went blank. The virulent disease in California.
What disease?
The one we just had in California that wiped out most of the birds. Newcastle's.
Oh yeah. Well,
When I look at these diseases, I mean these symptoms.
Mhm.
First thing I think is Newcastle's disease, and then I start looking around a little more, and then I see bronchitis.
Mhm.
Those are the first two that jump out at me.
Okay,
I wouldn't think avian influenza right off the bat. It would take a little more for me to jump there.
Okay, so that's a real good question. Real good question. So let's look at what you would see with Newcastle. Okay, Newcastle has its own set of very specific symptoms, and they're very consistent. Okay, I can't tell you every bird with Newcastle is going to present that way. Okay, but they stargaze. They pull their head back and look up. Okay, they also twist their head under and kind of like, it's kind of a crazy thing where the head will go down towards the ground, and then the head will just flip over, and they're totally upside down on their head. Okay, the body doesn't change, just the neck and the head. Okay, so I wouldn't think Newcastle until I started seeing some of the birds do that. Okay, then I would also look for, when's the last time I had Newcastle here. Okay, if I was in Colorado, I'd be looking at at avian influenza before I'd be looking at something else when I came out in the morning. I think it depends on how well versed you are in a set of symptoms. I think, in my line of business that I do, I ask crazy questions, okay? Because by the time they get to me, I'm looking at symptoms that could be secondary symptoms to some other disease that's come in, E. coli or something like that. So what I want to know from a person, and it's kind of a crazy question, but I'll tell you what it is. It's real simple. What is it that made you think these birds were sick in the first place? What brought you to that conclusion? Not what you're seeing now. Like I said, I don't get these questions to people 3-4 weeks into something sometimes. Very rarely do I get somebody contacting me today because they have a sick bird today or they had one yesterday. Okay. The biggest thing I run into with people is, I just thought. And if I were in the commercial sector and they were telling me that, I would tell them, stop thinking. It ain't helping you. Okay. But in what I'm doing now, I have to be a little bit more subtle. But not trying to be rude. It's one of those things. If you know the symptoms, you can start. I just start separating out in my brain. Okay, they said this. Oh, they said that. That's a red flag. This one over here, not so much. So it's one of those things where, if you know the symptoms, just like you're pulling out Newcastle because you guys are having that problem out there, which is quite a common problem. It's a neurological disease. It's a virus, and you'll not stop it. Okay, if you got it in your flock, you just might as well kill them. That's prevention is vaccination. There's no treatment, no nothing. That's and again, that's brought in sometimes by illegal birds coming over the border, parrots and otherwise. Okay, they're big carriers of it. I didn't see that out there. Was it just Newcastle or exotic Newcastle? Because they're two different ones. Exotic Newcastle. Well, see, there's no treatment for that whatsoever. That's the high end. That's like the Cadillac of Newcastle if you're going to have it. There just isn't any vaccination for it. It's just the way it is.
Well, they've got a new program there. I think it's for exotic Newcastles. It's with it's UC Davis, the California Department of Food and Agriculture. They've got this drop that they're using, and they're working with a whole bunch of farms, and it's a drop in the eye, and they have to do it a certain amount, every few months or whatever it is. But they're hoping that's going to stop, the exposure of Newcastles and to the point where it gets out of control again, because that's kind of where it is coming from. It's coming from over the border. They're kind of sneaking these birds in here.
So my question is, there's got to be more to it than it be just some sort of vaccine. there's no way on God's green earth that you're going to go into a laying house that's got 100,000 chickens in it and start grabbing them by the neck and putting a drop in their eye every 2 or 3 months.
No, they're not doing it for the commercial farms.
Look.
They're doing it specifically for the gamefowl breeders because they know that's kind of where it's starting. Yeah.
Okay. So in other words, for gamefowl people, getting them vaccinated in the first place.
Trying to keep it from,
Okay.
you know,
Like I say. So
being exposed and spreading
it's not
it.
a new vaccine or anything like that. It's just, so what they're doing by coming back in is not allowing the antibody level in the bird to get low. Okay. So if you look at a bell curve, when you first give a vaccination, you usually get a pretty good bump. Okay. But you don't want to hit the birds at the very top of that bump because you won't get much of a bounce from that bump. Making sense to you at all? If you look at it? Okay.
Sure.
You want to wait till that bell curve, till that backside line comes about maybe a quarter of the way down, maybe a little bit more. And when you hit it with the second dose, it bounces up even higher than the first dose. And that's what you want to do. So that's what they're kind of doing. Okay. That makes sense to me. I thought maybe they were coming up for a treatment for.
No, it's not a. Let me see. Let me put this on the screen. So. Oh, shoot. What am I doing here? I was going to put this so everybody kind of knows what we're talking about.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had a better one, actually. This is one I use for quantitative inheritance and polygenic traits, but it kind of works. It kind of just describes what you're talking about, you know.
Yeah. So from my perspective, you would want to take that threshold line and back it up the hill to just in front of where it says egg. Okay. That's where you'd want your next response to come, because you could see if you wait to where it gets down there where the threshold line is, okay, your bounce is not going to be anywhere near. You follow what I'm saying? Does it make sense?
Sure.
To you?
No,
Okay.
it makes perfect sense.
The closer you are to the top of the hill, the greater bounce you're going to get off the top of the hill. I guess that's a better way to explain it. But
yeah,
and that's why in commercial, and I assume they're still doing it now. I don't have the contacts in the commercial egg industry that I used to have, but it doesn't really matter. I can't see them not doing it. But usually you get 4 live vaccinations for Newcastle bronchitis, two mild and 2 stronger. Okay, during that pullet cycle, and then they come in behind that with a killed shot to boost it even further, to try to get it out as far as they can in a lay cycle. Okay, pretty effective, really, when you look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you know, it's like I said, it's awareness. It's no different than public awareness. If there's crime in your neighborhood, I think you should know about it. If you don't, you got your head in the sand. And you know, I pretty much know most of the people in my neighborhood. And when I see something out of whack, I'll stand at my window and watch, see who's doing what, especially if they stop in front of my house. Okay, it's just you know, being aware. I think that, you know, a lot of this stuff could probably be prevented on the commercial side with certainly better biosecurity. I really do believe that.
Something most people don't want to practice. You know, they just avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, and if you look at, it's kind of like trying to herd cats to get everybody on the same page. Okay. Sometimes you get the animosity factor. You know, you can't tell me, you know, you're a peon like me and whatever. And, you know, I've been down that road, you know, where I remember one time, of course, women can be the worst sometimes about these kinds of things. But
No.
yeah, they can be.
You know, Peter, I understand the angst about it, because most people, they get in the chickens, they want to share them, they want to hang around with their friends, they want to go to their friend's house, they want their friends to come to their house, you know. Mm-hmm. And I admit, you know, sometimes, and I don't let anybody on my farm really, and I guess you could say it gets a little lonely. Nobody gets to see my birds but me, except for an occasional picture or a video that I do, you know. And it's kind of a bummer. But we just had a member who was working with you, matter of fact, who got exposed to a disease. It was a bacterial disease, and you and I talked about it the other day. And he lost all his birds because he took a chance of bringing a bird back on his farm from someone else's that he loaned out and brought him back to his farm, and lost all of them.
And I worked with him intently, and the problem with it is not everybody tests for that disease. Okay, he had to send those samples up to I think Minnesota, so it's more of a turkey disease. and we're going to talk about it in the future. I've got to putting together some stuff for you. But we have a new disease on the block too that just turned up in broiler breeder flock. Egg drop syndrome, first time ever.
Now that will
Really?
be something that Roseanne will be interested in hearing because she breeds the American breezes. Did I say that right, Kenny? Breezes? Breasts.
I'm familiar somewhat with the breed, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah, but it's the first time ever here. It's a European thing mainly. It's the original one I think is back in 1976. Therefore, egg drop syndrome 76. But just here, I think this month, it was detected in a broiler breeder flock here. Yeah, it's been confirmed positive. And so what you see is a drastic drop in egg production. It's a virus, so it spreads pretty rapidly throughout misshapen eggs. Kind of one of those things that I'm not sure it's not an offshoot of one of the bronchitises or something. Kind of sounds like it, but I'll find out more about it. It's a disease I didn't really have to put much time into on my own because it's not here. It's not something that we would normally be talking about. But that just that just started here recently, last month or so.
One of the things on your list here is limit free ranging. You're going to break a lot of people's heart with that one. You know what I mean? Because they want to let their birds go. I do too.
Yeah, and they're going to do it anyway. And some people believe in survival of the fittest, and that's fine. When they all start dying,
I'm one of them.
Yeah, well,
to a point, I understand that you got to be careful still with certain things.
I am too, but I also understand that not everybody can replace everything that dies. I am. You're more about the genetic side of it.
Yeah.
But I don't really push the antibiotics. That's not my first line of defense for these people. I tell people all the time, but everything boils down to money. Okay. And I have had the most success with a very simple product. Okay. And I've been doing this a long time. I'm pushing 60 years of doing this crap. And the oil of oregano that I sell is the top shelf, best there is. Been selling it now for 15 years. But you got to put it in the water every day. And people don't want to do that. They don't want to spend $30 per 100 gallons of water. It's really weird. What it does is it keeps them healthy. I can prove it. I have the people that I've got one guy in Connecticut. Okay, he's a disabled Marine. He's been on it 15 years. Buys 3 bottles a month. He used to buy a boatload of medication from me, and he gives it to his ducks, his geese, his chickens. He's got turkeys. He's got sheep. He's got goats. He's got more stuff than he really should have. Okay. But that's not the point. They're all healthy, all of them. And he also claims that the manure doesn't stink as bad and he can let it go just a tad longer before he's got to clean it out by himself. So it's a lot of work to do. And, and he's had 2 knees replaced and so on and so forth. But fantastic product. I actually got it for a friend of mine who is a dirt farmer that raises about 1,500 turkeys for the specialty market. And they're high-dollar turkeys. I just started buying them from him myself. And you can't order a 19-pound turkey. It doesn't work. You get this big, giant turkey that you can damningly hard to get in the oven. But you run about $90 a piece. But I'll tell you what, you will never, ever touch a turkey out of the store again. Never. But I got it for him because he had blackhead in his turkeys. And we did everything to those birds, legal and illegal. Okay. Well, I mean, when you got money in them and they start dying at 5 weeks in a turkey, you got a lot besides the cost of the poult. Okay. Yeah. And we would take it on his old time. When I say we, he got them from me and he did it. And but it was early on. That's when you had to get it. Okay. They didn't give it to them their whole life. You couldn't afford to do it. But metronidazole tablets by the boatload, just one after another every day. You had these young kids coming in from high school and stuff after school and during the summer and just shoving them down their throat. Now he takes 60 ounces of this stuff to 1,000 gallons of water, lets it go. Got an automatic system that has pump it out to the waters, and they're done. I mean, it's amazing. the stories that I've got of people that are using it. But you've got to use it consistently. Okay. Turmeric is another one. I sell that too. And I sell the higher brand of it. That's why it costs more money. But again, it goes back to economics. People don't always want to do it. Don't always have the money.
Yeah.
Some are just not willing to spend the money, period. Okay. It's just the way it is. I never try to talk them into it. So where I was going with this is, if you keep the gut healthy, you're going to have a healthy bird 9 times out of 10, because that's where over 50% of the bird's immune cells reside, in the gut. So if you have a crappy gut, you have a crappy immune system. You have an immune system. If you've got a virus going through the gut, if you've got coccidiosis going through the gut, if you've got worms going through the gut, you've got a compromised immune system right off the bat. So you are better off to take care of those things.
I like the way you think, Peter.
So it's not always about antibiotic. Yeah, I got it if you want it, but that's not how I think. People say, no,
I told Peter we need to do a show on antibiotic use and misuse.
Yeah,
definitely.
I get it all the time.
And 9 times out of 10, though, Peter, they're giving these antibiotics. They're giving the wrong antibiotics. They're giving them penicillin when they should be giving them another type of antibiotic.
Or
they're using the wrong antibiotics.
Or they're doing it wrong. They
Not
pump a half cc into the breast, and they think they're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and again, that goes back to, I've never liked injectables. Okay. Very harsh on a bird. I mean, you go to the doctor and he sticks you with a needle. He tells you got to come back tomorrow and get another shot for the next 2 or 3 weeks. How happy are you going to be? Forget your time going there, but you're going to get stuck every day. Okay. Well, with injectables, if you don't give that for a minimum of 5 days, you might as well leave it in a bottle. And I know, I get all the guys tell me, I gave 1 shot and it all went away. Okay, good for you. Liar, liar, pants on fire. And you know it and I know it. Okay.
Well, the pulse shot might have made them feel better for a short term, but then it becomes chronic and you're making the disease even stronger and stronger. So,
sure. But, there's just a lot of things. It just blows my mind. Lots of times I just tap yourself in the head, say, man, I don't understand this, but I got it if you want it. And I've got plenty of antibiotic. That's not the issue. I mean, it's been hard to get certain ones, but I still get it. It's not that big a deal. But now the abuse of it, yeah. And, everybody thinks that the commercial poultry industry abuses antibiotics. They don't. That's a government telling you that. As a matter of fact, with the making the antibiotics prescription, the government was only about 35 years too late if they were trying to do something, because they got off that wagon a long time ago. The birds you see today being produced are the sizes and growing at the rates they're growing because of genetics, not because of antibiotics. Okay? They're only using antibiotics because they have to, and it's very limited. Okay? Because it's money. You've seen anything like the poultry people? They will take, for coccidiosis, they use what's called an ionophore, and they put that, it's a different type of coccidiostat, and they put it in the feed. Okay? But it's fairly expensive. Okay? But the last week or 2 before the flock goes out, they pull that out, and then they'll go and look and wait till they break a little bit and put Amprol in the water because it's cheaper. That's how they roll. It's money. And if you think about it, because they will go by 1/10 of a pound, makes a big difference to them. And when I first started in this business a long time ago, I said, 1/10 of a pound? Shit, I wouldn't even waste my time on that. And then I got thinking about it. Well, I've got this farm and I've got 1 million birds. 1,000,001/10 times maybe 5 or 6 tenths that you could pick up here. If you do this, you do that. If you don't want that money, you can put it in my account. You'll change your tune quick. I mean, it's just that, when you start doing the extrapolation with the math.
We could do a whole show on that.
Feed the same way. 1 ounce of feed per bird can add up to a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in supplementation for, if you want to get the best out of your breeding flock, there's 2 or 3 supplements that you can use. There's probably plenty, but there's 3 that I've set on and they're proprietary to me. Okay. And that's because I did the research and I figured out, which is which and what is what. But when you give those to birds that you're asking to do a lot, okay, a breeding flock, you're asking them to do a lot because they're not meant to do what we do with them. Okay, in the wild, they bred, they had a clutch of eggs, they hatched them, they went on their merry way. Okay, we're asking them to do it every day for as long as you can stand it. Okay, and you need to supplement them. That's all. You know, somebody was asking the other day how they're going to get a rooster that's older to keep producing because he's a really good rooster and stuff. And I told them how they could do it. Well, I don't think that's a good idea. That's a lot of work. Okay, then maybe you shouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because and I'm only telling you about it and that particular person about it because I've done it and I've told people to do it and they're happy with it. If you take an old rooster and you're going to put him in with a couple of young hens, he's going to work himself to death in about 15 minutes. And he's not going to be really producing much for you. So why wouldn't you be smarter to bring him to them, drop him in the pen, watch him breed them for a few minutes, pick his sorry butt up and bring him back to another pen, let him rest, and bring him back in the afternoon and do the same thing. It works real well. And he will produce a long, long time.
Yeah.
Okay? And you give him the supplements to keep up the quality of his sperm and stuff. Works like a charm. But you got to be willing to do it. You got to be willing to spend $1. That's all.
Now you've got rodent population. That's something I would say all of us are dealing with, you know, and this particular disease, avian influenza, is now affecting animals. So is it killing off the rat population too, or are they just really good carriers?
I haven't heard that. They seem to be really good carriers of almost every disease you can throw at them.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't seen that. I've seen some evidence that blowflies, eat the carcasses and stuff, and there's a finding that they can spread it. So if you're leaving carcasses around and allowing the flies to get to it, they can spread it around. And it isn't every one of them. That's kind of an interesting thing, I thought. But when you extrapolate it out, again, they said it was about 2.2% of the population. Fly populations are pretty damn big, so it's a lot of.
Flies are worse than the rodents.
Doesn't take them long to reproduce.
Yeah. Well, even with even your parasite eggs. I mean, flies are terrible.
Oh yeah. But you take rodents. They're kind of an interesting bunch. If you see rodents around your place during the daytime, you've got a real problem because they're nocturnal. So that means they're being pushed out of the nest. Okay. The other thing is to bait them where you see them. Don't bait in every place on your farm. Then you go and you look and say, well, they're not eating it here. They mustn't be gone. No, they're somewhere else. Okay. Don't touch the bait. That's the other thing, especially if you're a smoker. Don't leave your scent on the bait. Okay. They're smart. They'll sniff it, urinate on it, and no other rodent's going to touch it.
Wow.
Put the bait where they go. They like to eat in seclusion. They don't like to be out in the middle of the floor and eat. Sure, if they're hungry and there's something out there, they're going to go grab it if they can get it. But they have prehensile hairs on their body. Okay. So if you look at a rodent when it's dead, you'll see he's got a short coat and he's got a bunch of little other hairs that are out further. Those they can't see worth a darn. Okay. So those prehensile hairs tell them where they are when they're running down the sidewall. So you'll see them. They bounce off the wall. They touch the wall, touch the wall, touch the wall. And that tells them exactly where they are. And that's how they can get around. And they're quick as all get out. We all know that. We've all been around them one time or another. But getting them under control once they're out of control, that can be tough. It
did. Initially took me probably about 8 months on my yard one time to get rid of all of them. But when once I got rid of them, I've not seen one on my place in probably 10, 11 years since.
Oh, wow. How'd you do that?
I give you the formula for that, Kenny.
Yeah.
It's called a shotgun.
And it worked well. I even done that. I pellet gun. They was breeding faster with it, but they make a meal. It's not the bars, it's not the pellets, it's a meal. If you took oatmeal and painted it green, that's what it would look like. And they actually don't pack as much of it. And I put it in feeders and put it out. We was picking buckets fulls up them. During the day, wouldn't see a rat. Go up there at night, they would run into your legs. They would trip you. They'd hit you so hard.
No, send me that formula. I want.
But here's the thing. One thing I cannot get rid of, I've got these I call them kangaroo mice. They look like a little kangaroo, and that's the only ones that I can't get rid of. Everything else, be honest, a regular mouse or a rat I haven't seen in over a decade.
I got bronchitis one time, right? So I couldn't go outside for a while with the damp air because I used to go out every now and just pop them with a pellet gun and keep control of the numbers. And I wouldn't see them for a while, start seeing them again, go out with the pellet gun, just pop, pop, pop. And I kept control of them. Well, I wasn't able to go out there for like a month or so at night. And I went out there one time and it was so many, I swear to God, it made me nauseous. It made me sick. And I was killing with a pellet gun, I was killing like a dozen a day for quite a while before I start seeing a difference.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah.
I couldn't kill them fast enough with a pellet gun though. I go up and kill at night, put a red lens on my light just where I could see the lights, but the light wouldn't scare them off. And it was fun at first. It was like, oh wow, this is great. My shooting skills got better and everything. But after a while, it just got like, this is boring,
Okay, I got a question for you, Frank. I got a question for you, and maybe even Peter can help me with this one. My eyes far away are great, but looking down the side of my pellet gun, which is a pistol, I can't see the damn sights. I even with my glasses on, I cannot see. I'm becoming a terrible shot where I used to be a good shot.
Red dot or a laser.
Oh yeah, that would be a great idea.
Yeah, that way you don't have to even put it up to your eye. Just hold it out there.
Oh
put
my
it on there
God, I got to get one of those. Oh my God, yeah.
You can get them real cheap too, especially the lasers. You can get those real cheap because
Nancy, we're going shopping.
Amanda gets on to me. Amanda gets on to me. I've got a BB gun. It's got a laser light on it, but with my pistols, I'll be in the house. Of course, it's unloaded. But I'll be in the house playing with the cats with the laser on the pistol. And she's like, will you put that thing up and quit? The cats are going crazy, tearing things down,
No, Kenny, we're going shopping, but I like Joseph's idea here. Hungry cats.
Have a cat. We have one. That's
Barn
enough.
cats. Well, but we don't allow her outside. So,
yeah, I was going to say with decon,
she's a hunter.
Any type of poison, you can't do that.
Yeah. So, Peter, you were telling me that this is affecting people where it wasn't affecting people so much before.
Yeah.
We've lost, 1,000 people because of this disease now?
Worldwide, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was that many. There's only,
900 and change.
In the USA, though? There's only been a few in the USA, though, right?
In the U.S. here, as of May 16th, there were 3 workers that have been infected.
Yeah.
And this is in dairy cattle. Okay, and the states that have been affected with by the avian influenza: Ohio, Texas, New Mexico, Idaho, Kansas, and Michigan. There's no reports of person-to-person spread. Getting back to the current status of AI in the chicken business, like I said, there's 100.71 million birds. Okay, total flocks in both sides added together, 1,171. That's a far cry from the couple of hundred we talked about in the beginning. Okay.
Wow.
Of which 508 are commercial, 663 are backyard. You never saw that before in backyard like that. So it's, but people do a lot of different stuff. I know people that let their waterfowl go out on the little pond that they've got with the wild waterfowl. I guess you're willing to take your chances, but I get a lot of stuff. Well, it never hurt me before. Well, it's the first time for everything, the guy that always tried to beat the bus across the street every day, one of these days is going to trip and fall. Odds are, right?
Yeah.
That's like the same thing with the cows. If they're out in the pasture, maybe not let them go to the pond to get a drink. Always have their water troughs, because I don't think the geese are going to land in the water troughs. They're too small, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
They'll try to get up there to get a drink of water.
In some places, though, that's a high water bill, though.
No.
Water from the spigot. That's
like Dr. Gallardo said, these guys can fly over your farm, drop something about the size of a dime, and your whole farm is infected before you know it.
Yeah, well, that's what I said about those retention ponds. You're not so much worried about the geese going into the chicken house or them flapping their wings and spreading something. They don't build them that close to the house, but they're close enough. But how about the geese walking all around the farm? You can't control them. I mean, you shoo them away when you see them, but you can't shoot them. Okay, so you're stuck with them. So you walk around out there, and the guy I know that I'm talking about, he's got. But here's the funny thing. He has disinfectant pans at each doorway on his chicken houses. They don't change it every day, every week. So it goes back to my point before. And here's another thing. You need to know that disinfectants don't work well in organic material. You can look it up. They don't. They're good on solid surfaces, slick surfaces, concrete, plaster, metal. They do all of those things. Plastic, they're great, but they suck at soil and things of that nature, manure. That's why they always tell you when you're cleaning up, knock everything down, get all the dust, the cobwebs, the dirt, get all the litter out, get all the manure out and everything else, and then disinfect, because you're wasting your time. Doesn't mean you can't disinfect the litter. I'm not saying that, but it's a poor disinfectant. The rate at which it will disinfect compared to, flat surfaces and that kind of stuff.
Lost spores.
Yeah.
What about exposure to the sun?
If I think you'd have to have blazing sun like you had out where you are. And we had some of that hot weather here, not up to 100. We had low 90s, 93, 94.
Is it the actual heat or the sun rays themselves, or does it matter?
I think it's a combination of the two. That's just the heat. Heat does a lot of good things. I mean, takes care of a lot of things. But again, it's awareness, in my opinion. That's the way I'm looking at it. It goes back to like we talked about. Know the symptoms, know the difference between one disease and another, know what's in your area, and you can know that by talking to your extension agent, other people that raise poultry in your area. Keep people off your farm. Nobody needs to be on your place. If your neighbor's dog is running over in your yard, tell them to tie him up. If they don't, shoot the damn dog. I mean, you have to protect yourself one way or another.
Peter, you mentioned we was talking about sunlight. What about extreme colds?
I'm not sure what the low temperature is. I'm not sure it gets cold enough here to really kill it all off.
Say here in Kentucky, where it gets down, minus 25, minus 30 for, weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. You think that helps?
Yeah, I think it does. I think there's a break point in there somewhere. But by the same token, it's a disease that happens to like cold weather versus warm weather, because we generally don't see it. We're seeing it longer in the summer now than we've ever have. That's one of the things that I was talking about before. We're into August and we're still seeing it. We normally, first week or two of June, you're done. So we're, as a matter of fact, the whole month of August, I think it was, there were averaging 22 outbreaks in the summer here. That's unheard of. So the virus is either changing or something's changing. Okay, it's still H5N1, but what has changed about it that's making it behave a little bit differently. Obviously it's changing. Well, yeah, obviously it's changing with the going into cows and that kind of thing. We know that mammals and stuff in the zoos have been contaminated with this virus as well. Waterfowl in the zoos around have had issues with it. I had a list put together somewhere. I don't know what I did with it, but it had all the different animals that have been infected, foxes and everything else. And don't forget, as we have different temperatures now, sometimes in the winter, we had a very mild winter here last winter. Okay, things that would normally die off don't. The grasses don't die off like they normally would, and so other animals leave. Last night, for the first time in 7 years, I saw 2 foxes in my yard. Okay.
We've got 4 in ours.
Pardon?
We've got 4 in ours right now. We just seen them a little bit ago, mommy and some babies.
Yeah, probably out here in one of these farm fields that are around me that that have a family living in there, maybe more than one. I mean, they're cute to look at. Don't bother me. I wouldn't harm them as long as they stay out of my house. I don't got no problem with it. But So you're starting to see a lot more of that kind of stuff. You're seeing, different things along those lines. The geese will stay longer here with the weather being warmer before they migrate north, and that depletes some of the foraging for other animals that would go out in those fields and eat the grains and so on and so forth. It's an amazing thing. Have you ever seen bees that are trying to hibernate in the wintertime, and they're trying to get a last meal somewhere, and you throw some cracked corn down on the ground, and they go right down in there and they get the sugar that they can out of the corn? Ever seen that?
No, I haven't, but I know.
haven't,
Yeah.
I encountered it once about 10 years ago, and had somebody explain to me what they were doing, and I thought it was pretty cool.
The yellow jackets do it here.
Yellow jackets do it everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. They've been terrible this year. Terrible.
Yeah.
I've had a tough
Me
time
too.
this year. I usually raise 200, 300, 400 butterflies, and I haven't been as attentive to it this year, but something's eating all of the caterpillars before they can progress to the adult stage. So, yeah.
We raise the katabi worms, the caterpillars, and the super worms, like a mealworm sort, but they're a whole lot bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, I raise probably about 4,000 a year of those.
I raised these just for the hell of it. I did monarchs for a number of years. They're more difficult, and then just had more trouble than it was worth with the.
That's interesting.
With the what the heck is it? I can't remember the damn things. They get on the leaves of the thing, and then then the ants go after them, and they leave behind a sugary, slimy mess. So then the ants start getting all over the caterpillars and stuff. So I just cut down all of the milkweed that I had and got rid of it. It's annoying when you just I spend a lot of money on it. You start spending $15, $20 a plant just to feed a butterfly, a caterpillar. But they're kind of unique. I've got all kinds of pictures of the chrysalis coming out of the chrysalis, and on my cell phone I've got one where the monarch is sitting on my hand immediately after it hatched. The only time they're very skittish compared to others. Okay, my grandson was here for a little bit tonight before we got started, and we had 4 yellow swallowtails out on my butterfly bush out back, and he was able to just walk up to it very slowly and gently and put his finger on its wings. And you won't do that to a monarch. You won't get that close. It's kind of interesting. But I enjoy it, and I got a bigger plan for it next year. They won't get one of them. I've got a plan in place that's going to be different. So
Now the super worms is a little bit easier to maintain. You just give them all your scraps, leftovers, and they're good to go.
I'm not familiar with them. What do you do with them?
Fish bait, reptile food.
Okay.
Many different best fish and catfish bait you can get.
Okay.
The best, especially the patabi worms. Now the patabi worms grows on the trees. They're probably about 3 or 4 inches long, real colored, real pretty, and they eat the leaves of the trees. So we set bukus of trees out on them. So chickens like them real well too. They love them.
Interesting. See, learn something every day.
Now you've got
Go ahead.
Cross B that has over 280 cows. He's got some mama cows. Should he get a couple of them tested for AI, or is that even available to him?
I don't know if it's available to him. I would check with the extension agent. That's what I would do. I know that the I just read it today. As a matter of fact, the government has a program in place now before you can move cattle, cows, especially dairy cows. They have to be tested to go state to state. How effective that's going to be, I don't know. It just, who's going to stop from moving them? That's the thing.
Well, we got to the end of your outline. Is there anything else we want to cover before we get off?
No, let me see what I got over here. I did the Finland vaccination thing, the France thing, the vaccination program, egg drop syndrome.
Before we wrap it up, can you remind us again what states AI is in that those people need to be concerned about right now?
Well, as far as the chickens are concerned, it's in every state.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Oh crap!
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Peter.
And look, Mexico's got a problem with it as well. Okay, so it's on our border. And here's another thing: we've seen it in Mexico multiple times, but we've never really seen it in South America, and they've got it as well. I mean, it's worldwide now.
Yep.
That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
pick a country that they've had it: Poland, Israel, Saudi Arabia, England, France, Germany. All of those countries. And it's all started now because there's more and more birds. Before it was just ducks and the geese. Now it's almost everything.
I may have to bring in the Canadian goose season here a little bit early this year. Then
I won't tell.
man, they are. They started out the Fish and Wildlife just stocked just a few of them at each lake, and we've got 3 lakes in conjunction here, 3 different counties, and now it's nothing to look up over and 50, 60, 70 flock groups going over your head daily.
I got a question. If you're hunting them and you're eating them and they got AI, can that make you sick?
Even after the heat?
I don't think so. I think by the time you cook them, they're
Okay.
I think they're
that's still
I think they're over it. And I would think if you're shooting something on the wing, okay, if it had avian influenza that bad, I don't think it would be able to fly. I don't think it would have the it wouldn't have the lung capacity to even get off the ground.
nor the weight. You could tell it would be sick.
Yeah, I would think. I don't think it's certainly after you cooked it. Now in the processing part of it, sure you probably could get it, because that's how these people in the dairy industry, that's how they're getting it. They're getting it from the cows that they're milking and stuff. So and it is in the milk as well.
That's scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, when the government first came out with it, because they got caught with their pants down because they didn't know nothing, and they said it wasn't a big deal. Then it became a big deal. Then it was it'll be that's pasteurized anyway. Don't worry about it. Well, then people started coming down with taking care of the cows. So which is it? I think it's one of those things that if you're dealing with, especially if you're immune compromised, there's a lot of people walking around that are technically healthy, but
That's true.
they get every disease that comes along. I mean, they're always sick, and so you have to look at it from that aspect of it, and they're more vulnerable. I would think it's going to be a problem for them with any of these diseases, whether it be COVID or anything else. But it's going to be tough going forward. I don't know where this is going to stop. And look, it may all stop tomorrow. Hell, I don't know. We thought for a while there in 2018 or so that after that it wouldn't be a big deal, but here we are.
Yep.
And again, like I said, there are rumblings about who's going to keep paying for this, putting down bird after bird after bird. So you got to be a better plan. So I think that's what was happening in Europe. And that's why they embarked on the thing, kind of looking at it, say, okay, this is kind of dumb. You put them down, clean it all up. And, I think there was one Dutch farmer over there. He got it twice in a row. I mean, how bad can that be? Wow. And they're not as generous over there as we are here, as far as indemnity and helping you out, and got all kinds of agricultural programs to help you get through things. Pretty much on your own over there.
Jason was asking that he had heard in South America that seals were dying from it last year. Had you heard anything about that?
What was dying from it?
Seals?
Seals in South America.
I didn't hear they were dying there, but I've heard they've been infected. Yeah. I wish I kept that list. I don't know what I did with it. There's no telling in this office. Could be anywhere.
I don't know if you mentioned it or not, Peter, but has it been confirmed in Hawaii too?
That I don't know, but I can't see why not.
Yeah, because there's a lot of birds from here, being shipped over there and what have you. Wild birds.
Yeah.
It's something that's relatively easy to get. Let's put it that way. It's not hard to get it, as we've seen. Early on, you go back to some of the earlier outbreaks before the 2022 outbreak. Okay. Even after the fact, because they go in and look at this have epidemiologists come in and try to find out where it started, what went wrong and all that kind of stuff. And even after, what they were doing was they would clean up a farm, and then without even disinfecting the equipment that they were using on that farm, they would go to the next farm and just spread it. They couldn't figure it out in the beginning. So what's going on? But again, I say it's what I call situational awareness. It's knowing what's going on, knowing the symptomology, knowing what's in your area. Because I get questions all the time. Should I vaccinate for this? Should I vaccinate for that? Okay. And my answer to them is, why? What, and it sounds crazy coming from a person that sells it. Okay. But I don't believe in vaccinating just for the heck of it. I just don't. If you've got a flock of birds that's happy and healthy, why do you want to introduce something that could cause you trouble? Because some vaccines, no matter what you do, they're more trouble than they're worth. So yeah, I always want to evaluate it. If you're surrounded by commercial chicken houses, by all means. But then what do you want to vaccinate for?
Me and Kenny see a lot of that in the gamefowl. People just automatically, the chick comes out, they give them antibiotics for no reason. They just think they have to.
Look,
and then they vaccinate for everything and don't even have a problem with it.
You know as well as I do, that's the crowd that believes in as soon as they hit the dirt, they get the first 7 to 10 days of LS50 in the drinking water. I know.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
it's
it.
a preventative measure.
Yeah.
They're the same ones that when a storm's coming, they what do you call it? A flush? When they fill up a bucket full of antibiotics and then they just a drench. That's right.
Drench.
And then they give everybody a dose of antibiotics because a storm is coming.
Cold
That's
front.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
cold front.
that gets me.
Look, most antibiotics, human or otherwise, okay, don't last more than 24 hours in the body.
Yeah.
And they have to be given continuously. Why do you think you go to the doctor says take this every 4 hours?
Yeah.
And sometimes, sometimes 2 a day.
No, he wants to keep the antibiotic level to a therapeutic level that's going to help you.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, now you have the long-acting ones where you can take something once a day because of the way the capsule or the pill is designed. Okay, that your bile acids in your stomach and whatever will break down that outer coating, and that'd be the first dose and the second dose and so on and so forth. Okay, but no, that's ridiculous. I get people to do the same thing all the time. I believe in certain instances there are situations where you'll look at a bird that got injured in a way, maybe a bird that got beat up pretty bad by another animal, but you have superficial wounds on the outside, but you can't see the inside. Is he bleeding internally? You don't know. So I want to give him, several hours to adjust, and you observe him before I make that decision or help you make that decision. I don't want you to say, "Oh yeah, you should give him something." No, I don't believe in it. Never have. I've always taken the tack here. I am the world's lousiest salesman because I just
talk more people out of medications than you sell. I think. Sometimes.
Well, my point is, if vaccination is required, let's do it. If medication is required, let's do that. But I go back to what I said earlier. If you keep a bird in good condition with a healthy gut, and you keep your parasites down and everything else, okay? Why do you think people have so much trouble with parasites external? Let's start there for a second. I know that I don't want to run too long.
Poor management.
Okay, so poor management, number one. But nobody ever reads the damn label. Nobody. They find something that works, and they sit on that like a hen sitting on eggs. They won't get off of it.
I will say this, that when Peter sends you medication,
they go looking for something else. But if you read the label on the inside, every one of them says, this is part of a rotational program.
Yeah. I will say this, when you buy medications from Peter, he gives you some of the best directions you're ever going to get. It's going to tell you how much and how often and everything you need to know about that medication. Yeah.
medications.
Yeah.
That's the best part of it.
You develop
Correct.
these things over the years. I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing it a long time. Doesn't make me God or anything else. I never looked at myself that way. I know a lot about a lot of things because I read a lot about a lot of things. Did I go over with you, Kenny, the other day about the pork situation?
Go ahead and tell us. I remember something about
Does
that.
Does anybody know? Okay, why the pork prices have been fairly high?
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Well, I'll tell them anyway.
Do we
Take
well,
a guess? Do any one of you? Kenny
it's
already
worth-
knows.
Okay.
So take a guess. Anybody going to take?
You're gonna make me look bad because of where I live, you know.
No. It's just, hey, it's what it is. I mean, do you have any idea?
I gave you the hint
Did? It's
Yeah.
because it's something that happened here in California?
because we
Absolutely.
live in California.
Absolutely. I'll
Oh.
explain it all.
It's because we're stupid enough to buy it anyway at any price.
No. Actuality, California is the largest consumer of pork in America. Maybe because of the size of the state too. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you, California passed a law that says that you cannot raise hogs, okay, in farrowing crates anymore. So you might say, well, what the hell's that got to do with, the price of pork in Iowa? Well, you being the largest consumers of it, the second part of that law says that nobody can sell pork in California unless they are raised farrowing crate free. That's why.
Yeah. Peter, I
Wouldn't
was
think
saying,
you would say, what the hell has that got to do with pork in New York or whatever? So it means if you want to do business in California, you have to get rid of your farrowing crates. So what's the cost of that? Just like when they went to cage-free eggs and all that nonsense. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And that's another thing I'm going to tell you. There's an article out today about, and I think it came out of California too, or Berkeley or something. There's some good research people out there. They're not all bad. But they, so looking at birds in cages with lice and looking at birds in the free range and that kind of thing. The amount of birds that free range have it was quite surprising versus birds in cages. So it's for what it's worth. But anyway, that's that story.
I was looking in a magazine though, Peter, and it had fowl pox vaccinations, different type vaccinations you could get for chickens, and every one of them was can't be sold in California, can't be sold in California, can't be sold in California. So there was that was only state listed, just California that couldn't be sold in.
Yeah, they're anti everything, but that's neither here nor there.
Not me.
No, it doesn't mean everybody. I mean, it obviously is a preponderance of the people, but it is what it is. It's
well, like I tell people, I live in California, but I live in the San Diego area. It's like the more south you go, the more sane and conservative you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it gets worse in LA, and then it gets insane up north. So
I didn't even think when I went out to Kenny's, if I'd closed my eyes and been asleep and woke up in California, I woke up and said, "Hey, when did Kentucky lose all the trees?"
No, we're more conservative in San Diego area.
Yeah, I couldn't tell the difference. I couldn't tell it other than lack of trees and bigger mountains. I would have never known.
Well, look, it's the same thing here. This is a democratically controlled state. Always has been. Probably always will be. Okay.
Let's be careful with the politics, guys. Okay.
I live on what's called the Eastern Shore. Okay, so this is like really living in the country compared to anybody that lives in Baltimore and places like that. I wouldn't even go to Baltimore anymore. It used to be a really nice place and a lot of places to, but I just won't go there anymore. It's too dangerous to go there, and but we're very conservative for the most part here, and we have no say really in things. We can't change the politics in Annapolis because we don't have the power. We don't have the people. You get out of Baltimore and you go over Garrett County and the other counties that are out on the other side. over in the mountain areas of Maryland, okay, they're again more conservative. You'll find more Republicans and that kind of thing there. But that concentration of I'll keep the word to myself in Baltimore and that whole area there overrules everybody else.
Well, all I'll say, I don't want to get too heavy into it, but it seems like every time something happens in California or people have certain feelings about California, us being in San Diego, being more conservative, we get blamed for everything that's going on in the north, which is dictating everything in California. And I just hate it. I just hate that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, look, the same thing goes if you would go to New York. My brother lives in New York. Okay. And I'm from New York originally. But it's the people in the city that rule the rest of the state.
Yeah.
You go upstate New York where it's really beautiful and everything else. Yeah. Majority of people are conservative.
I think that's in most places.
It is.
That happens in most places.
That's here. That's here.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good example of that. A few years back, we had a decision that the San Diego City did for us, rural people out here in the county of Ramona. They made the decision for us and the people in the city voted for certain things that had to do with chickens, with how many chickens you could have in your backyard. They made the decision, people in the San Diego City proper, for the people who are out in the rural county.
That happens everywhere.
And that just really bites because they don't know that much about chickens. All chickens are just dirty and they you got flies all around them and stuff like that. So we don't really want chickens anywhere near us.
That's funny they say that about the flies.
They don't know.
Because I don't see any flies out in my yard. I got all kinds of chickens out there. I never see flies.
The chickens
are eating them. We get the same thing here, though. I mean, this is chicken country, like it or not. And I've seen this other places, okay, when I was a young kid growing up out on Long Island. And over in a town called Northport, that's where the dump was. And people come from New York City, and they come out there and they buy this piece of property that backs right up to the dump. I mean, you go all the way to the back of the property line, it's nothing but a big giant pit. The pit was so deep that the trucks and the bulldozers and stuff that looked like ants. I'm serious, okay? Yeah. And then they had a big incinerator there as well, okay? And then you come out and you buy this piece of property, you build this big house, and your property backs up to the dump. You complain about the noise, you complain about the roads, you're going to have that, and you complain about the smell. What do you think it was going to be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The only time we've had flies is when we had horses surrounding us. When the horses went away, the flies went away.
You got cattle, you got flies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I constantly have to treat cattle for the flies, especially the horse flies, what they call the horse flies. Those things, they'll pick you up and pack you off. And if they bite you, it hurts.
It does hurt, yeah.
Yes.
We don't have much for flies here, but you won't go out on the deck here and have your morning coffee anytime soon. You might do it in the wintertime, but you won't do it in the summertime, I can tell you. And if they're moving chickens and they're cleaning out chicken houses, you ain't gonna do it either.
Yeah.
It'll burn the hairs in your nose if you got any hair in your nose. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything more about AI, or should we go ahead and shut it down? I don't have any more questions. I don't know if
I think we pretty much covered most of it.
Yeah, I do too.
You know, just for a second, the conspiracy theories and stuff, I don't buy into it. There's a lot of people claiming it's a government deal and everything. I can't see it to try to cause an interruption in the product chain and all that kind of stuff. Maybe, I don't know. There's some people running around talking about the PCR test not being accurate. That the inventor of it, I forget his name off the top of my head, but it doesn't matter. That he had made some comments in years past that it doesn't tell you that you're actually sick, and it doesn't tell you very much. After everybody touting around is the best thing since sliced bread, PCR testing is what I'm talking about. Then you're going, after you've sold it to everybody, you be damn and belittle it. So what they're saying is that the more cycles you run it through the process, the more likely you are to find something. But that being true on one hand, the more you look for something that you'll find it. It's the lower cycles where you'll usually find it. Okay. 10 cycles, 15, 20 cycles, whatever the case may be. That usually means there is a problem. So it's a very accurate way of determining things. And I did a little bit of reading up on him. It's just a shame I didn't write down his name and stuff. Wrote it down, but I just can't remember where I put it. It's immaterial. They claim he did a lot of LSD and all other stuff. So God only knows, he might have said anything,
Oh, wow.
Hey, Kenny, why don't you put up his QR code so people can take a snapshot of that so that they'll have his information in their phones in case they ever need Dr. Brown.
Yeah, because Rolando's having some problems, and he needs to get with Peter and get his he's having sort of like botulism in his chickens, and it's only his free-range chickens. His chickens that he's got pinned, he's not having a problem, but they have perfectly symptoms of botulism, and they was getting better on after a few days. But now he says once they start drooping or acting funny, they're dying now. So he needs to get with you, Peter, and maybe talk with you and send you some videos and let you see what they're doing.
Yeah. First thing he's got to do is go find out what the hell they're eating. If they're free ranging.
We've done that. And he can't find anything. Cannot find anything at all. I thought it might have been his feed, but it's not affecting his adult birds. It's only the young birds that it's affecting.
Because usually to take care of botulism, you just flush them with Epsom salt.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mix up some with some water and give it to them and let them drink it. And usually it causes a flushing effect. I think you can use molasses too. Diluted molasses will work. But
I think
be interesting to find out, just what it is. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah. He checked. I had him check all of his places to make sure there wasn't any carcasses or maggots or anything of that moldy feed laying out that they was getting a hold of. He checked nothing. Now he's got more coming in doing the same thing.
So what are the symptoms then? Because they're usually, again, going back, these symptoms for botulism are usually pretty clear cut. They usually lay their head on neck out on the ground and stretch it out in front of them.
Yeah,
that's a cut symptom.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I know nothing else that really does that, but they're eating something they're not supposed to eat. Obviously,
that's what I've told him. And
grass that's tainted with something. Somebody tainting it for him. I mean,
never know. We even took it down. I sent him some oil out there for his chicken feed, and he left it in the sun for months, and it was getting real hot. I thought that might have been what his problem was. He cut that off and got new oil, and he's still having the same problems. Which I told him they could have ate it way back and just now getting the symptoms from it. But
I don't know. It's pretty quick. I think that the fact that they're recovering and then coming back with it later again, it's kind of goofy.
Yeah, well, he said before, that they was getting better, and I said, well, if it was a disease, they're not going to get better that fast on their own without, some kind of medications or something.
Yeah.
And then now,
once they recover, they should be fine, right?
Yeah, but I guess it's not the same chickens. It's more free rangers coming in. It's doing the same thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, some people are asking, high toxins, Johnson's grass, pokeweed seeds. Could that be out there in his farm? Yeah. I guess those are some things that affect chickens.
But it's spot on symptoms with botulism. The videos he sent me, I was sure it was botulism.
Well, I'll talk to him. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah, just let him watch some of the videos.
Every conversation with somebody, there's a learning experience somewhere.
Yes.
Okay? Really, I talk to people all the time. People think I always charge. I don't, and I'm very, very meticulous about charging them money for giving information. Okay. And by that, I mean, if I know what you have can't be cured, I don't charge you. Okay. We'll have a long conversation on how to prevent it and everything. I just don't feel, I've never been about money. I started to say that before about, selling stuff. I suck as a salesman because I am more interested in doing what we're doing. I do this all day. Kenny knows that. You all know that. I'll talk till the cows come home because this is what I like to do.
Can I tell them about your project? Can I tell them about the project? Oh, well, you talked
about it here, but I don't want everybody else to know because I know how lazy I am these days.
Hey,
I'm not as young as I once was.
I'm
you know?
pushing Peter. Everybody needs to push Peter to get this damn thing done. But I'm going to tell him. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell him.
Go ahead.
He's working on a book.
2 of them.
Two of them. And him and I have talked
Glutton
about
for
it. He's told me
punishment.
how
I can't get one done. I'm still working on 2.
he's told me how he's laying it out and what's going to be in it. And I am pushing him hard. I told him I'll do everything I can to promote this book and help him get this book sold. So I'm giving him every little advice I can. I'm giving him places to call, whatever, So I'm trying to do everything I can to get Peter to.
One thing that will set my books off from anything else is that they are picture heavy.
Yeah.
Pictures tell 1,000 words.
And I'm not going to say anything, guys. I'm not going to say anything, but I can tell the way Kenny's acting. I can tell you what it's about. I'm not, but I already know what it's about because I can tell the way Kenny's acting. I know
it's his specialty, healthcare and disease prevention. I mean, it covers the whole gamut. But I don't know of too many people that can give the kind of advice that Peter gives, is able to help them cure their birds and has the products to actually do it. And there's a lot of people that we call them, there's some people we call chicken peddlers, or some people we call information peddlers. And now these days we have what we call medication peddlers. And Peter is not one of them. Peter is an expert in his field. He knows what he's talking about. He's the best one to talk to when it comes to figuring out what's wrong with your birds, how to cure them, getting the product that you need. And it's not no witch doctor crap that you see out there. No, you need something, contact Peter. I posted the address and everything on here numerous times. It's right here too. You can even get to his website through his QR code up in the corner. No, I'm a big fan of Peter's.
The thing with me is I read a lot. And that's why I'm able to tell you about the swine thing with California and stuff. Okay, it's some articles, some stuff that I get, and I read that, and I read a lot of stuff. Okay, just like somebody was talking about on Facebook. They were talking about the price of gas. One day it says it's up and everything else, and a joke out of it, off-color joke actually. So there's a woman too. So I said to her, I went and I explained it. How it works, okay? And the price of gasoline will go up and down pretty much every day or every few days based on how the oil is traded. Oil goes up and down all day long. I have no dog in the fight in this stuff. I have no money in oil other than putting it in my tank, okay? That's where my money is, okay? Just like the rest of us for the most part. I have no money invested in the stock market, but I like to know how it works. I'm one of those people that when I get in a situation with people, we start talking about something, okay? If I don't know if I don't know what you're talking about, you know what I mean? If I don't know enough, close your mouth and listen because you're going to learn. If I know what you're talking about and you're spewing BS, I'm going to straighten you out. That's how I roll. I can't help myself. And that's, like I said, oil's on the upswing again. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. The Canadian Railroad is on strike. So you might say, well, what the hell's that got to do with us? Well, we get 100,000 barrels of oil per day from Canada. So now we're going to be 700,000 barrels short every week.
It's got to go up.
So it went up like $1.45 a barrel today. It's $73, $74 and change. Okay. I watch it every morning. Only for a few minutes. I watch it in the evening. A few more minutes. I don't spend a whole lot of time. You'd be surprised how much you can get when you're quiet and you listen to people that know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
But I concur with Kenny.
I was talking to Peter just the other day that
people get the first thing they say, they hear, and they run with it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Learn it. What do you say, Frank? Learn it yesterday, teach it today.
So and somebody comes back,
learn it, and then an hour later teach it.
Somebody comes back and puts a little poo-poo in that first thing that you heard, but you don't hear the poo-poo. You heard the other part.
Yeah. No, I've been all through my life. I've been very good about surrounding myself with experts, people who know what they're talking about. I don't even have people on here who don't know what they're talking about.
I could have told you that electric cars weren't going to work. Not that I have to be a rocket scientist for that. Okay. But now they're all trying to bail out of them because, you can't make any money on them. Okay. But all of this stuff, it's amazing when you really start to look at it. Okay. And see how bent some of these people are. I mean, employment. I've known that the employment has been on the downswing for months, but the Labor Department doesn't say that.
Of course
Okay.
not.
Okay, but here's how they do. Now here comes the poop. Okay.
Uh-oh.
No, the other a little while ago they came out and told you what the unemployment rate was. Okay, or how many new jobs were created. Okay, which is another crock of crap. Okay, right? It was so many million or whatever it was.
It's a
Well,
misprint.
yesterday they came out as they always do. Okay, and most administrations do it a little bit, but these guys are doing it for a reason. Okay, because all you're going to hear is that big number that you heard the first time. You're not going to hear the poop that they put out yesterday because nobody cares because you already know. So they came out yesterday and they said, well, we have to readjust that down 880 million or whatever it was. Okay. I said, okay. I think 880,000 is what it was. But the point is, nobody's hearing that. I heard it.
I think we went from a chicken show to a political show.
I just find this stuff fascinating to me.
It is fascinating. But we do have a question for you. How much salt in the water?
Epsom salts.
About a teaspoon in a pint of water. Just let them drink that.
Yeah.
About a teaspoon or so. Teaspoon and a half.
Any other questions before we wrap it up?
That's about it.
I think I'm good.
But
no,
I like to, like I said, I like to all that stuff. Read and listen to. I like to listen to people just like you're talking about. Getting people that know what they're talking about. I like to listen to people that know what they're talking about. And
I just get a lot of people saying, "Why don't you have this person on the show? Why don't you have that person? What about this breeder, that breeder?" And I check them out. And we'll ask Frank. We'll get on there, and we'll do an interview for quite a while. I'll be right on here talking to him, or sometimes even on the phone for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and because I want to get a good feel who they are, what they know, what they have to teach. And most of the time, it's frustrating because most of the time, I just don't think they have anything to teach. It comes, So I end up not doing it.
Most of the things that I espouse, I've done. I've worked in industry. I know how it works. I know how they I've worked on the vaccine side, so I know that, and I know how they work, and I know the nonsense that goes on over there. Most of that stuff doesn't change. Those industries are all about money, the nickel dime. And again, like I said before, when I first got in it, a tenth of a pound to me didn't mean squat, but did to them. Feed conversion to them is a huge thing. And you start looking at it and you look at all the feed that they produce. It will mean something if you can save a little bit because there's millions of chickens in chicken houses here on any given day. I forget how many they slaughter here alone. But we've got multiple slaughter plants all around. There's chicken trucks all over the place. You'll find them. The crate opened up and they're on the side of the road running around. They're everywhere.
A lot of mouths to feed. A lot.
Yeah.
But and the complexion of that industry is changing because there are a lot of Oriental people now that have come here and bought chicken houses. Okay. Allen Family Foods. They went bankrupt years ago, and I think Korean came in and bought them out. AMIC. Okay, so a lot of things have changed. There's a lot of the interesting thing about a lot of these immigrants that come here. They are willing to do things that Americans won't do. Okay, like 42 people living in one house and that kind of stuff, and it goes on. Even the Oriental people come here. That's how they amortize the cost of doing something over everybody, and they all work in a chicken house and they buy all these chicken houses. It's all these chicken houses are huge.
Well, I'll tell you what. If I lived with even 10 of my family members in the same house, we'd all kill each other.
The 3 we have in here living in here right now is just fine.
It's
no more.
Just
the four of mine is just fine.
Well, I'm a different character altogether. I didn't even want to tell you half of my stuff because I'm a hand washer. Okay, so that disturbs people too.
I don't see anything with that.
Pardon?
I don't see any issue with that. Washing your hands, I think that's kind of a good thing.
I wash my hands constantly.
I do, but I leave enough bacteria on it to get resistant.
You two don't know it, but Kenny knows some of my story. I have PTSD real bad, and so for me, I pull my cuticles out. I peel the skin off my fingers. Yeah, you can just look at any one of them. I just sit here and I'll just pull them right out. Doesn't matter if they bleed. They just so the more stressed I get about something, okay, the worse that goes. Especially when it comes to you in the middle of the night and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's hard.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, I want to thank.
Not complaining. Don't take that as a complaint. Because life's and shit happens, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You have to work with the hand you dealt. So, and
Life goes on day by day.
That's why I'm a workaholic, and I don't go to bed most nights until 12:30, 1 o'clock. I'm up at 6:30.
Same as Kenny.
Yeah.
He does the same thing.
We pull some late nights.
Which I was more productive,
Oh no, I'm real productive at night. It's like it's hard to go to bed. I look at the clock and go, "Wow, it's 3 o'clock in the morning."
I am too. I
better go.
I never go to sleep at night ever.
Does it ever surprise you, Frank, when you send me a message and I'm still up?
Yeah. I never go to bed at night ever. I don't sleep during the night.
Okay.
I just sleep through the day.
Yeah, he's only on.
Yeah, but he's used
Peter,
to that.
Frank's only on the show to get out of work.
Yeah, I work night shifts.
Hey,
I work night shifts.
he may not realize, but I watch his wife busting her butt. I see her on Facebook. He puts up pictures and he tries to smooth that stuff over. I don't tell you I love you enough. Yeah.
Hey, it gets the job done.
Hey,
Yeah,
it never worked for me. I'm a 3-time loser.
Oh God. No.
Well, we're going to be treating Amanda very well when she comes out here to California. It's going to be all about her this time.
Yeah,
you go.
she's looking forward to it. She's looking really forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Peter, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem.
We got to get you on more often. There's some subjects we're going to talk about. Peter and I were talking about some ideas. He's got some ideas. I got some ideas. They'll really wake people up. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So if you want to know about the 2 books, one's a disease book, obviously, and the other one is one that's kind of a little bit dear to my heart, which is avian embryology. Okay. And like I said, they're all
It's going to be great.
They're all picture heavy. I'm a picture guy.
That's very good. People need visuals.
Hang on 1 second.
So I got it. While he's doing that, I've got this one here. Wait, this one here. Nancy, get Amanda some dirt from California to take home.
No, it's got to be sand off the road. Okay.
Well, it's from California, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's a good one.
General Patton, you have been listening to our podcast. I'm very proud of you. All right, so what do we got here, Peter?
This is an
Embryo.
Nice.
yeah.
So what I'm going to do in my book, I'm not interested in teaching you the basic incubation. By the time you read my book, you want to have that down. But what I want to teach you is how to figure out when you have a crappy hatch and you shouldn't have.
Awesome.
Cool.
Figure it out. Okay. So I'm
Pull
going
the
to
mic close.
through
Pull the mic close.
pictures and show you how you should do an egg breakout. Okay. And then you can use the picture to determine the age of the bird. And the way you're going to do that is because for each day, the bird has grown so much, there are enough things to look at that you can see that there's a difference. Okay. You'll be pretty close. And then listed for you will be all the kinds of things that could possibly cause that mortality at that age. And then you'll go and hunt and pick and try to find out. So it'll be a little bit of you being a detective. But I have all of these. I'll take you right through from the beginning of the conception right through the end. I just have a lot on my plate. I have a relative, two of my relatives fought in the Civil War, and I got tangled up in that knee deep. I am reading so much stuff on that, and then doing all the research on that end, finding out one wasn't captured, the other was. He was captured at And this is a funny thing too. When you're looking at things historically, back then they called certain the Southerners called a battle one thing, and the Northerners might have called it another. So you might be looking for a particular thing. So it states that he was captured at the Battle of Weldon Railroad, such and such a date. Okay, all right. So I go and look it up. Can't find him. I said, doesn't make any sense. I know that he was captured at Weldon Railroad. Well, he was captured at the first Battle of Weldon Railroad. There's more than one. And they didn't call it Weldon Railroad all the time. They called it Jerusalem Plank Road. Well, who the hell would have known? You don't know the research I had to do to go through that. And then I got lucky with a book. Okay. This is where it was from. That's the outfit he was with, 1st Vermont Heavy Artillery. And this
all I saw was the price tag, Peter.
Pardon?
All I saw was the price tag.
Oh, that's 40% off. I didn't pay for it.
That's the only thing I saw. You got to show me. There you go.
There you go.
I got to be up higher.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
neophyte.
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
But I'm into all of that kind of stuff. And then again, pictures. Hang on.
See, we got to keep this guy focused and get him on the right job.
Oh, I'm as wacky as a $3 bill some days. But these are pictures of battle flags from that era, from them.
Oh, wow.
All right. So you'll see that on this particular one, this is a battle flag from back then. And it will say on here, where the hell is it? Is it this one? Yeah. You'll see on there if you can read it. Maybe you can't. It's in the. Let me get over here. I got it.
Yeah.
Can you see where it says Coal Harbor?
No.
Okay.
Now I see Petersburg, Charleston.
Anyway, it says Coal Harbor. Well, you look till the cows come home. There's no Battle of Coal Harbor.
Oh.
None whatsoever. It's Cold Harbor, and it happened in Virginia. Okay. And it was a nasty war. I've been there. So I've been to most of these sites. That's the other thing that I've been doing. I've been going and chronicling everything so I can put it all together. So he was captured at the first Battle of Weldon Railroad, the Jerusalem Plank Road. Okay. Then he was incarcerated at Belle Isle, Virginia. So Belle Isle, if you know where it is, it's right outside of Richmond. It's just an island in the middle of James River. Okay. So neither the North or the South was prepared for this war in any way, shape, or form, both in troops and troop training. And nobody ever gave any thought to what are you going to do with all these people I captured? Okay. So when he was captured there, they sent him over there. They had accommodations for 300 people in tents, little pup tents. So when you got there, you got a blanket and your pup tent. After that, you slept out on the ground. In the wintertime, okay, the camp billets are like 5,000. Okay, they're all sleeping on the ground. You got a blanket if you were lucky, and in the wintertime they were losing 14 men a day, and they had no facilities. Wow. So the James River ran on all around it. So the top of the river is where they got the drinking water. The middle is where they bathed, and the bottom of it was where they defecated. It's interesting. So he went from there to 2 or 3 others. He ended up in Andersonville, okay? And lucky for him, if you can have any luck in this whole thing, is he was only in Andersonville for a very short period of time. If you know anything about Andersonville, it was the hellhole. It was deliberately built in the middle of a swamp, okay? So they had to fight the mosquitoes and you know, all of that kind of stuff. Lice. I read one account from one guy. He said all day long, he said, you stand up, pick the lice off, only to sit back down, have them jump back on, constantly doing it. There was only a stream that ran through the middle of the camp, the prison that they got their drinking water from. Well, eventually they started contaminating that because it was overcrowded. It was like 15,000 people there. And at any given time, I think the overall mortality there was somewhere around 12,000, 15,000 people died over a period of time.
Oh, wow.
Andersonville, yeah.
History is a funny thing in that a lot of time back then, people didn't journal, as some people didn't journal as well. And I'm reason why I'm saying that is I was dealing with some history articles on different chickens, where they came from, where were their origins, and the like. And I was having a hard time finding out, where did this particular breed begin, and then that's what I was trying to find out. And some breeds, they didn't have very good journaling on them, and other breeds, different people had really good journaling going on for those breeds, but others weren't, and it got pretty frustrating, because you had some birds that would be hopped on a boat, and we'd travel to different parts of Europe, and then that's how they got into different parts of Europe. But they don't really have the manifest that was on those cargo ships going from Asia to Europe, kind of thing. So it was very frustrating. But then on the flip side of that, it was very interesting, the different articles that I did find, and found out what was sent on those cargo ships and what businesses ran those cargo ships, things like that. Yeah.
We, in Arlington, we honor, and rightfully so, the unknown soldier, but he's not the only one. There's thousands of them from the Civil War. A couple of my favorite places, Gettysburg. I can go there and spend all day. I've been to Gettysburg probably 10 times. It's just so huge and so much to see and absorb.
I love Gettysburg.
Edom is another place. Here's another thing. So we all know about the battles, okay, because that seems to draw everybody's attention. But the real battle that saved the Union, okay, was the Battle of Monocacy River. You ever hear of it? Of course not. Okay. That happened right outside of Frederick, Maryland, okay, which is about a 3-hour drive from where I'm talking to you, okay? And I've been there several times. I just like it. There isn't a lot to see overall. You've got to travel from the visitation center down some roads and stuff, but I still like to go. And so after Antietam, I don't know whether it was Early or somebody, I can't remember his name, Jewell, or was coming out of the Shenandoah Valley and coming around Antietam and going to march on Washington. About 15,000 troops, okay? And Washington was heavily defended. There were at least 40 forts in Washington all around it. But the problem with that, from my perspective, okay, was that they only had 150, 200 soldiers in each one. You didn't have a huge army all in one spot. So to me, 15,000 troops probably would have cleaned the clock pretty quick. And, especially when they started bringing up some of the real heavy artillery that they had. You have no idea we talk about cluster bombs and stuff. No, they had them then. Okay, they did. You can go over to Manassas, and I've been there a couple of times, and they've got a whole thing set up in there, all the different kinds of artillery rounds they had. It's just absolutely fantastic, and I just got knee deep in all this stuff. I got some more things going than you can shake a stick at. Okay, and it's just, it all fascinates me, and I like to talk about it. And again, if I don't know what I'm talking about, shut up, or go get a book and read it. But to me it's a big deal. And the way we treated our troops back then, you think, I'm a Vietnam veteran, okay? And so I wasn't on the ground. Kenny knows my story on it. He can tell you if he wants to. But we
did the same thing. We did the same thing in the Navy.
Yeah, we were both in the Navy and both on carriers. Yeah. And so, but back in the Civil War, when the war was over, they just dumped all these veterans out on the street. Go home. No money. No way to get home. Guys with no legs, no arms, just put them on a train, flatbed, and we got to the train station, find your own way home. Could have been 500 miles from that train station. I mean, they got treated so badly. It's appalling. I couldn't believe it. I said, this is crazy. I mean, there were no jobs, and they went home to their wives, and like some of these guys said, I don't even know who I am. I've been out here for 4 years with laying in ditches, shooting artillery over my head and all kinds of shells and shot and getting shot and everything else. And now I come home, I don't know what normal is, you know. And the wives didn't want nothing to do with them. A lot of them, some of them tried to help them, but some of these guys would, you know, just couldn't be helped. Just committing suicide left and right. Just everything you see today, was happening then. And there were psychiatrists then, believe it. Pardon?
It just wasn't written about that well.
No.
Like that.
And this is all firsthand accounts because they had organizations, and a lot of the organizations would try to take advantage of them, obviously. Okay. A lot of alcoholism, same thing you see today. Okay. A lot of, people say, veterans should shouldn't be on the street. They can't be around anybody else. They can't get along with anybody else. They're alcoholics, they're druggies. And I'm not trying to put them down. It's a fact. You're trying to tell me that homeless people want to live in a damn cardboard box at 32 degrees and snowing on the sidewalk or in some lot somewhere? No, I don't think so. They're mentally disturbed. They're just, and they can't go to a shelter because they can't deal with the people in the shelter. I mean, it's documented all over the place. I mean, they cry about it here over in Georgetown, which is about 30 miles from here. Okay. That's over in Delaware, the county seat over there. Okay. And they got them living on private property and they can't get rid of them. Guy owns the property. He wants to develop it, but you know what the mayor over there told him? If you don't like it, go to another town. What kind of leadership is that? But anyway, I'll let you guys go.
Well, I can't wait to see the 3 books that you've yet to write and finish because they're all going to be fascinating. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. I seriously mean it. They're going to be.
I think they will, because the disease book is going to be written very simply. Okay, it's going to say more or less what it is, what to look for. This is what you're going to see in necropsy. This is how you fix it if you can. This is what you use, and the story, so that you don't have to. If you're one of those people that's got a problem, you can go from chapter to chapter, and you should be able to read right quick and figure it out on your own. Okay. The one thing I'm thinking about doing, I have a colored disease poster that is absolutely beautiful. So I haven't figured it out yet whether I'm going to put a CD in with it, because that'll be like a bonus thing. Okay. But that's, hang on one second.
So while he's getting that, Kenny, do you want to remind everybody what we are going to be talking about next week, or in 2 weeks, actually, for the public?
It should be backcrossing. I mean, outcrossing. Hold on a second.
Can you
Oh,
see
wow.
it?
Look at that.
Outcrossing in 2 weeks. Oh, that is fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bird's posted down here. All the parts are numbered so you can tell what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then around the perimeter, you've got all the major poultry diseases.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have that in the book for sure.
I don't think he can hear you yet.
Oh, okay.
I can hear
Oh,
you.
you can? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Cool. How'd you hear us without the earphones?
I was hearing it.
Okay.
I was hearing it.
Okay.
I've had fun tonight. I've enjoyed this immensely.
Yeah.
Yes,
blessed.
we really appreciate having you on, and we're
Yeah.
going to have you on definitely a lot more because we need the information that you've got stuck in your head there.
Sometimes it is stuck in there. That's part of the problem.
Well, we're going to work hard to get it out.
Okay. Oh, okay. We'll get it done.
That's good.
Okay. So, again, thanks, Peter. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Frank, for joining
See
me.
you guys.
Thanks,
And I want to
Peter.
thank everybody for the comments and some of the questions that Nancy read off. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. That's weird to
For
say
the
that.
public.
Isn't it? For the public version, and we'll see the members next week for the members roundtable. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Okay.
guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.